Hi folks, John Cordisco back again. Round 1 of Norway Chess 2015. This is between the current world champion, Magnus Carlsen, is white, and Veselin Topalov, former world champion from Hungary, is black. We're going to start at move 15. This is quite a long game, and I will tell you up front now, this is probably one of the most bizarre endings to a world-class game I have ever seen. Carlsen is white, Topalov is black. Right now it's about an even game. It's a semi-Slav. It's about 60 moves, so I'm going to go through it fairly quickly. Knight to b6, queen, rook b8. This is complicated. Knight to d1. These guys are tiny advantage now for black. It's going back and forth. Bishop f5. Knight to b2. What is that knight going to do? Where's it going to go? Is it going to go here? And he wants to go here. Rook f to c8. Knight to d3. Now, does Topalov, is black, allow this knight to come here? That would be really, really brutal. Topalov has to take it. Now he loses the bishop pair. It's basically an even game. Really weird, the configuration of pawns, but c5, and that's what computer suggests, and that's what Topalov does. D takes, rook takes. Oddly enough, this is also the computer's first choice. That's how good these freaking guys are. This move I never would have thought of in a million freaking years. Rook takes c5 is the computer's second choice for white. h4. This is beyond my comprehension. Amazing stuff. Amazing stuff. Rook to a8, knight to a4. And of course Topalov comes up with knight to a4. I'll tell you, the best computer in the world can beat the world champion. But I'll tell you, under this kind of pressure in humans, these guys are the best there is. All of them. h5. Trying to break things up a little bit. As you can see, pawn takes. Knight will probably move here, and this pawn's in prey, trying to get some action. These guys are always looking for counterplay, always looking for counterplay, and they managed to do it. Rook takes, knight takes. Now queen to c2. Now this knight is pinned. As we see here, the rook's unprotected. G takes, knight to d4. Several moves here. Rook to c7, h4, b6. Decides to go queen to g6. Maybe not the most accurate move. Knight. Now white is creeping back into the game. Carlsen is... This is Carlsen's thing. Take a small advantage and just grind you down. Bishop f8, protect the knight so he can move the rook. Rook d1. Queen to e6. These guys are just duking it out. Rook c1. Give you an idea, bishop takes h5 isn't any good because after knight, queen e2, queen takes f5, you're down a piece. After rook to c1, bishop, we can see why the queen can't take. Rook takes check. Queen takes, knight takes, queen takes. That's the most bizarre exchange I've ever seen. So here we are. Opposite color bishops. Black is up a pawn. Small advantage for white. Queen. Queen to b1. Go through the next few moves here. Now that bishop is stuck there. d4. Here comes black. Pawn takes. Queen to d1. Really weird how this worked out. We got king and bishop. King and bishop. Queen e5. This is where you're going to start getting some inaccuracies. And who can blame these guys? We're on move 35. It's a 40 move time control, the first time control. And they're really trying. And it's complicated. You got queens on the board, bishops, pawns all over the place. What to do? What to do? Bishop g7 gets that bishop into play. Queen checks. Bishop goes back. Is Topalov looking for a draw? Probably. Queen to d8. Protecting the pawn. King to g7. Almost 1 point advantage now for white. Pawns are back even. Opposite color bishops. Queen to d5. I'm going to hoof through this a little bit quick because it's a long game. It's a 60 move game. We're on move 38. b6. Queen checks. King goes back. Queen f6. Bishop g7. Queen takes b6. Now, we're on move 41. Now they can actually breathe because they're getting low on time. 1.5 advantage almost for white. This should be a pretty much standard Carlsen grind. That b pawn is going to win it for him. And he's got to pass d pawn. So let's go through this. Queen takes, queen to g4, queen to d1, just slowly. Of course, you see the threat here. Bishop takes check, winning the queen. Queen to d8. That's his mistake. That's a big mistake. Queen to g7 is the computer's choice. King to h7, and here's what happens. He didn't see this. Queen here. Not only is he threatening the pawn, this pawn now can keep marching. King to g7, he realizes his mistake, and the pawn moves. Only got one more dark square to go. Queen to g7, excuse me, g4, and here comes the pawn. Queen to h4, hell of a move. 3 point advantage now for white. You see the threat, of course. If you queen, bishop takes mate. Jesus, these guys are good. Queen to g3. Queen to f6. Threatening mate again. Queen to c2. He has to come back to defend the f2 pawn. Queen to e5, guarding the queening square. Queen to d3. Bishop finally hits the queening square. Now he's got the queen and the bishop guarding the queening square. It's 3 points up for white on the computer, but can Topalov hang on? Queen to f3. Queen to f6. Queen to e2. Queen to c3. King. Queen to d4. He's going to start grinding him now. This is a win for Carlsen. Queen to f3. Remember, it's a very, very bizarre ending, so don't stop the video now. Bishop goes there, just to guard the queening square. King comes up. Bishop. Bishop. What can Topalov do? Nothing. f5. Bishop e2. f4. Queen takes. Queen takes. Queen checks. It's an overwhelming advantage for Carlsen. I've never seen this much of an advantage in a world-class game. It's over a 13-point advantage. King to f7. Now, that was move 60. And Carlsen flags. He runs out of time. Did not realize that after 60 moves, you don't get an increment. He thought he had time put on, but on move 60, it starts, the increment stops. Or I should say he thought he had an extra time control. Didn't realize his clock ticked down to 0. Magnus Carlsen, world champion in Norway. One of the biggest tournaments in Norway. Television stations from all over Norway, the main television station in Norway, covering this live the whole time, and he flags. Wow, wow, wow. So those of you out there this has happened to before, those of you that have made mistakes and you've beat yourself up, don't feel so bad, because even the world champion, he gets so engrossed in the game, you don't look at the clock. He thought he had more time, and he didn't on the 60th move. So there it is, folks, one of the most bizarre endings to a world-class game I have ever seen. Anyway, that's a game from round one. I hope you enjoyed it. I know Magnus didn't, and he's mad at himself. He did it himself, and he realized later it's frustrating. When you can't blame anybody but yourself, that's tough. Anyway, folks, I want you all to remember, if you think chess is just a game, you're not playing it right. Take care, folks. Bye-bye.